Let's go!
As a boy from Scarborough, Tom Caldwell loved skater culture and skater fashion. The non-conformist skater world was the perfect environment for daring moves. But deep down, Tom was more of a dreamer than a daredevil. Years later, while overlooking Central Park and negotiating a $100 million law case, Tom realized his focus was elsewhere. He was dreaming about fashion. It was there at the pinnacle of a thriving law career that he decided to make a change. Now, Tom's found a way to merge lawsuits with custom suits, taking his years of practice as a lawyer and merging it with his love for fashion. Tom launched his menswear collection, Thomas Henry Made, proving you really can have it all. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Caldwell.
Straight out of the T-Dot.
That's what it is.
Live from the 6 boroughs.
Don't go nowhere.
For sure. Welcome to Standing in the 6 with your hosts, Michael and Constantine.
Well, good morning, everyone. We have the amazing, I'm going to say this properly right now, Tom Caldwell. Yes. Did I say that perfectly?
Perfectly.
It has like a British, kind of
vibe
to it.
It's not a hard name to say.
No, but you know what? I always mess up names. And I mean, sometimes like, how did you pronounce it like that? You know what I mean?
Well, to be fair, I mean, a lot of people struggle with the name.
Yeah,
right.
Tom
I'm not
is
exactly
hard.
sure
Tom
why.
is hard to say.
Yeah. Well, the Caldwell part's easy, right?
I think
No
it's
one
the
gets-
L. It's the L.
It is.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
So that's the first time I've ever heard it said well.
Really?
Initially. I am not even joking.
What do people normally say?
I get Cadwell, I got Caldwell, I get Cadwell. It's like the L is what's missing in that, right? Like, and then
Really?
and then the A
Right.
looks like an O.
Right.
I get like Kidwell, Coldwell.
We're just lazy. English language is phonetically lazy.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's true, man.
Yeah.
It's true.
And guys like me, my tongue is bigger than my mouth, so I always have problems talking.
No, honestly, I spent a lot of time practicing that.
Okay, so Tom Caldwell.
It paid off. It paid off. And Tom, from what we know of you, you're a corporate lawyer by day, as it says on your LinkedIn profile, and by evening,
By night.
the Thomas Henry Made kicks in.
That's right.
Which we're going to be diving into. But before we dump,
Kind of like a superhero story.
it is. It is.
you know?
Literally, it is.
By day, by night.
The hero we need, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Now, looking at you, I mean, because people are going to actually listen to this and also view it, but you're looking extremely sharp.
Yes.
I appreciate it. It's everyday wear. It's
Okay?
everyday wear.
Is
Yeah.
it seriously everyday wear? Now, to me, I need to take a couple of notes today. And for anyone listening, this is the time if you want to kick your fashion up. I mean, it can really apply because for myself, I was telling Mike, I don't like wearing suits in general, and I wear them all the time, and so does Mike. We're not suit guys. I mean, but we have to obviously have that element to what we're doing. For you to do it, do you enjoy wearing suits?
Well, I do, and so I had two things from thinking that is I hear that a bunch all the time, and how I came to do the Thomas Henry Made
Yes.
thing, put it well, is that
Yeah.
I was a guy who always liked style, but I never wanted to wear suits. So and I think those two ideas kind of connect. The thing I was going to say is I hear a lot that people's like, I have to wear a suit, but I don't really want to. I went from a guy who was into style but never wanted to be a quote unquote suit, like someone that's forced to wear something to work that you don't want to have to do. And there's a certain stigma, or at least a prejudice almost, that comes with people who wear suits, right? You're a particular way.
Yeah, you're
Right.
a penguin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to be in that box in a way too. But my short story is I went from not wanting to be a suit to having to wear them for work, and working at a large corporate law firm in the city. It's the uniform. It's what you have to do.
Okay.
And I kind of fought against that in a way. Never really wanted to do it. And then just from the experience of having to do it every day, I went from not being stylish, not really doing it, wearing it all that well, to finding something that was actually good, and then realizing it was like a switch that just turned on. It was like, oh, I like this.
Oh, nice.
This is good.
Yeah,
Now-
you found something. You found
found
something.
something.
This
Yeah.
feeling that you had, did it happen while you were practicing law?
It did, yeah.
And that's interesting.
And
to
what
me.
it was,
Yeah.
and this is what suiting's all about for me. It's about the fit.
Okay.
It's about the fit, and more importantly, feeling comfortable in it.
Okay.
And to kind of jump ahead is what I'm doing with Thomas Henry Made now. It's trying to bring the passion that I developed for that over
Yeah.
10, 12 years time going from someone who was skeptical to loves it so much I quit my job on the legal side to start the business. It's to bring that passion that someone who's not quite into classical menswear and suiting,
Yes.
to discover that and to discover that in your own way.
Right.
So if you look at it, you're like, I got suits, but I don't really want to wear them. Like, I would love to have you feel that passion that I had for it when you put something on.
Yes.
You put it on, you're like, you literally feel like $1 million.
Like, damn, I look good kind of thing.
Damn, this
Yeah,
is great.
yeah.
I could get used to this.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess, yeah, it
I
is like
want to do this.
It is
every
a
day,
switch.
too.
It is a breakthrough, like to embrace it versus just be like, oh, okay.
Right.
And I think that thing, it's taking that from this is the thing you have to do.
Right.
To this is that thing I want to do.
Right.
And what I'm doing with it, it's not to Thomas Henry. It's a boutique experience. It's about coming in and and starting with a conversation, not starting with the product. Right. That has nothing to do with it for me. It's like, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? What do you love? What do you want to do? And how can I make you more you? And not being, okay, here's a suit, you're going to look like this.
Yes.
Well, I don't want people to come in and do me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And that's, it's kind of hard to describe all that too. But suiting for me is I think classical menswear looks good. Like, you see James Bond in a suit.
Yes.
And I don't know anyone who looks at James Bond and is like, nah, I don't know, that's fine.
Right.
Yeah, it's whatever,
Right.
Like, you see that, you're like, it just looks good.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he looks comfortable.
Yeah, and he's comfortable
Like,
in it,
he
right?
looks comfortable.
Right.
And
Imagine a scene in James Bond where his
Can
his
you
collar's chafing him.
But can you imagine James Bond putting on the tuxedo and being like, I don't really know, man.
Right,
This is
right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm at the casino tonight. I kind of
Yeah.
just want to wear like
Yeah.
sweats or something. You can imagine.
No,
that,
for
right?
sure. For sure.
Because he's also comfortable in it too.
No, absolutely.
And that's what developed for me. It was that thing of putting on something that fit well.
Yes.
And that looked good. And I actually felt confident in it.
Now let's.
And it's quite literally like you stand straighter.
So
you
who were you before? Give us an idea of, the non-fashionable Tom. Like how your 80s and 90s photos as a kid. What would we have seen?
I've struggled with whether or not those should ever become public or not. 'Cause it ain't pretty. Put it that way too.
I said it on purpose because we have production secretly trying to find photos right now.
I scrubbed social media. Everything's gone.
bad. Okay.
Well, I was always an ideas guy, and I liked style, but I'm inherently a non-conformist, or not. So I'm a contrarian. That's what I'm looking for too. I don't like things just because they are the way they are. Right? I always want to question them, understand the substance of them. So as someone who always cared about the substance more than the style, the steak as opposed to the sizzle in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, that was, and I was a skater kid through high school, and
Oh, I see the shorts and the pants and
big pants,
Yeah.
big,
Oh, yeah.
large, like 4 sizes too large,
Right.
baggy pants. But even within that, I didn't conform to skater culture way too. So I'm always a little bit different than what you think. And I guess I'll kind of avoid answering the question by kind of dodging it away too. But the thing, people look at me now and they look at how I dress or act now, and they don't really see how I grew up. I mean, I grew up in Scarborough in Toronto,
Nice.
and in a very multicultural neighborhood.
Right.
Right. So I grew up listening to hip hop. One of the first loves.
yes.
But I was, a skater kid who liked skating but didn't necessarily love skate culture, so I didn't quite fit in there. I'm a white guy.
Yeah.
You see that, right? So
Yeah.
you didn't quite fit in there. I grew up in a non-white neighborhood,
Right.
too, right? So I had a weird, random mix of friends. Nothing exactly like what they're doing right now, or nothing what you'd think if you just looked at me right now.
Right. And that, I want to stop there for a second. The power of a suit and the presentation, it's honestly crippling my mind now to actually think of wait a second, Tom's from Scarborough? Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? And
Hey, hold on. I'm from Scarborough.
You saw me in law school, right? I'm still wearing skater gear through law school. So if my law school friends and or not friends, but the other folks in law school who saw me then, I think the last thing they'd think is that I was the guy who's going to start a menswear business,
Wow,
right?
that's awesome.
They're like, wait, that guy?
Yeah.
that's
Well, I say that because we wear suits all the time, and because of that, people have this, one-dimension perception of who we are. So when we're not in a suit, it's almost culture shock right now. What am I seeing here right now? This doesn't add up to what I'm. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I've had it with clients where you see clients, you're with your family or
Yeah.
on an off day, and we're not decked out, and they literally look you up and down, and they're like, Michael, is that you? Right? And like, yeah, I don't. It's not my pajamas. You know what I mean? Like they almost feel that you have a suit all the time, even when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's that power of that assumption, and also
Yeah.
the presentation of it as well too.
It makes
that's
a
the
mark.
thing I was always kind of like. So to answer it, I was
Yeah.
always kind of fighting against the impression of things that something has to be that way because of how you appear or how you are in a way too.
So you were
So
always like
growing
that
up,
as a
I was
kid. Yeah.
I was always like the idea was always important to me, right? I like to think. I like to think things through, and not assume things more so than anything, right? As much as you can is to really, go one step beyond or do something just a little bit differently. That's how I find myself to this. Is that I like what I do, but I was always just there's got to be like a little bit different way to do this, or there's got to be something else that's on the go, or just quite simply, just to ask the question, well, why is this the way it is? Mm-hmm. So to start really bring it back on the menswear business, and I went from a guy who cared about style but didn't care about suiting, to realizing that I really like suiting, to then going out and trying everything. So I would go out and not just go into the most expensive store that sold the suit that everyone said is the one you had to get. I tried a little bit of this, tried a little bit of that, tried off the rack stuff, tried full on bespoke, tried made to measure, tried low end, and I didn't just assume things. I asked questions about it.
Right.
And that asking questions and going that one step beyond is what led me into figuring out what was missing from that whole experience in a way too. So it's always just like, I don't go in and say like, okay, you see a lot of people assume things from that, right? They buy the most expensive suit they can,
Right.
and they think that, okay, now I'm done. Like that's all there is to it. There's way more to it, and you just got to be curious and ask a question. That's essentially me in a nutshell in a way too, and that's kind of how I was when I was growing up.
You know, it's really cool. A lot of the guests before you have said almost the exact same thing in different ways, that there was an undefined, something that was new to them, that they didn't hesitate. They dove in. And because they explored it, they found things, they really know what they like within that new arena, whatever they're doing, then they know what they're about. It almost, but think of that as a contrast. If you just follow, and at some point someone taps you on your shoulder and says, why are you doing what you're doing? You have no anser.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Let me ask
Well,
you.
it's a good example, because I always remember this, is one of the friends who's she's reasonably fashionable, and I complimented her on what she's wearing. Oh, that's nice. I'm like, is that cotton? I'm like, what's that made out of? She said it's Fendi. Like, no. What's it made out of? Right. I didn't ask where is it from or who made it. Right? She understood the question. She just didn't understand the substance. Right. Like the act of buying something was like, that was all you needed to know.
Right.
Whereas for me, I'm like, oh, like what's this actually made of? Or like, where do they make it? Or why do they make it out of that?
Right.
That's really the substance of it. And since I'm curious, right, I can't stop myself from wanting to know more and just continuing with those questions in a way too. And that's the essence of life too. It's you ask a bunch of questions, and when I'm passionate about something, I'm not half-assed about it, right? I go all in on all that.
Yeah.
So I want to know everything about it when I can.
Yeah.
And that leads you down a variety of paths once you just start on that road.
Absolutely.
I've had the privilege of being suited by Tom and styled by him for a couple of things. And excellence is everything with him. It's amazing. Like the whole experience. I'd actually truly say it's an experience. I'm a guy who wears T-shirts and jogging pants and comfortable white kicks. Okay, and when
It's good looks, though.
Hey
It's good
man,
looks.
it's classic. It's classic. And when I went there, went to his studio, it blew my mind. The whole experience. Just I didn't understand the conversation. That even the conversation, it opening you up to something new. Yeah, versus just throwing stuff on and then feeling like you're a prop for some, for some madman who's just trying to, okay, let's put this on you, on you. You know what I mean? So have you ever done that before? Have you ever been?
No? I've actually never been.
Most people haven't. That's the truth.
To have that tailored experience. I know of people, but I actually, for me, we were mentioning this before you came on. It's for me the challenge is I can't go into a tip-top tailor's or to a place and just put a suit on because it just never fits right ever. Something's up with the shoulder, it's bunching, this whatever. So it's always been an issue. So that I just never gone through it.
That thing is that's everyone, right?
Right.
Like, the
Everyone
key is no one's really had that experience, and you walk into a store, and it's not here to talk bad at competitors, but the trouble is to make it really work, someone has to sit down and talk to you, understand what you're doing, and then figure out what you're fit. Like you kind of got to spend some time with it to see. It's not something you can necessarily do off the rack.
Well, for
the
sure.
key is I actually like people coming in expecting to not have a good experience, right? expecting kind of just be hustled out of, hey, here, put this on, now get out, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Right.
For me, it's way more than that, right? It doesn't even start with the product. It starts with the conversation to actually get to know someone.
Who are you? Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah,
And what do you
exactly.
want to do?
That's awesome. That's
Because
amazing.
without that, it's
Yeah.
impossible for me to actually help in the right way. Because
Right.
I'm not trying
Oh,
to get
man.
you to do me. I'm trying to get you to do the you that you want.
Are you, when you're having this conversation, are you looking at their body language, how they're slouched, their posture? Because these things always probably translate into the suit
All
as
that
well,
translates into the fit at the same time.
Wow.
So it really is. I'm taking in all that information as I can. So by the time you go
Is
and
that why
try
you
something
is that why you
on-
had me doing burpees and all
That's
that?
right. That's right.
Yeah, you're checking my form.
That's
you know?
right.
Okay.
Oh, you're going to do a handstand with something, right? So I know I need to cut a little bit more through the
This is
arm.
true.
Give you
We
some
did,
space
we did
for
do a
it.
handstand for a photo shoot.
Let me throw this out. So we're in the security industry, and for us, the suits that we wear to look good and be functional is difficult. And I know they're playing around with some of these concepts in the U.S., but it's basically suits that are very high functional, but also like very fitted, right? I guess it has to elasticity, for example, in the suit. Do you?
Some of that's in the technical fabrics as well too, so you can get a good fit to it, so it's not too baggy. But
Okay.
it's still functional for movement as well too.
Right.
And it might be cut a little bit differently
Okay.
around the waistband where you need if you've got
Yeah,
if you've got a.
We might need your insight
Yeah,
to help
for
us
sure,
out
yeah.
because we had some training yesterday, some use of force training. Some big boys or pretty lethal gentlemen were going all out, okay, and
Yeah.
taking guys down, taking control of guys in restraints, carrying them across an area as if they have to be removed from a property, and it just kept coming in my head. These guys are gonna have to do this with suits.
Oh my goodness!
You know
If
what
I
I
do
mean?
that, it's going to be a Bruce Banner moment. It's going to
Yeah.
reach out, and the back's going to all rip up. Like,
Yeah,
literally, that's how
Bruce
tight it is.
Well, you kind of want that. It's impressive
Yeah.
at the same time
Exactly.
too, right? You're like, maybe we shouldn't mess with this guy, right? Like,
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
let's just go quietly here.
That's right.
There was a guy who I'll leave nameless, but he was a big boy, and whenever something, I guess, hostile happened, he would calmly take off his blazer because he always ripped it. So he would
Really?
literally take it off. You don't remember? I'll tell you who it was. He would take off his blazer, he'd fold it up, put it down, and then, yeah.
That's respect right there.
Yes,
right?
exactly. And he would do it so calmly that everyone kind of knew to move out of the way.
Yes.
Does that make sense? He was tall, 6'7", so.
Crazy. Thomas
That's like,
Henry.
you know what's
Maid.
coming at that point, right? So
Yes.
you're like,
Yeah, it's not a thumb war.
yeah.
How did you come up with that name, Thomas Henry? Obviously, Thomas is coming from your name, but Henry Maid.
Was my grandparents. Well, both of my grandfathers were Thomas and Henry.
Okay.
Ooh, I
So
didn't know that.
the name was really an homage to them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And because it really, everything that I'm doing now comes from the upbringing and everything that I've had, and looking back on it. And you know, my grandparents were salt of the earth kind of guys, right? They weren't fashionable, they weren't there, but they cared about core values that actually matter. You know, family, respect, tradition. They know when to dress up on that as well too. And I think that the key is one of the ways that I'm different is I'm not here because I come from an old school Italian family that's always done this.
Right.
I didn't come from a place which you hear a lot of people talk about where they've always been stylish or fashionable, and they're looking up as if you want to be like them. What I am is I am who I am. This is how I've come to it, and I've grown from my experience with a happy childhood, with a happy family, into someone who wasn't fashionable and now is.
Right.
And it's to be able to look back on that and kind of see where I've come from in a way too, and also like not pretend that this is something other than it is. Right? So a lot of folks pretend that they're on high and you need to be like them.
Right.
I'm just doing me, and this whole mix of experience is how I've got there in a way too. And because family is important to me, I really wanted to be able to wrap it into it in some way.
Yes.
And to be more than me, and
That's awesome.
to come full circle. No one can pronounce Caldwell.
Right.
So
Right,
that
exactly.
Thomas Henry, that two first names, is really a nice way.
Yeah.
It's got a nice ring to it.
It does.
It
It has a very nice ring
It's
to it.
really nice.
We're always talking about the work ethic to get to where you're at. Now, you don't have to tell me. I already know to get your bar, for example, and go through that whole process is a beast in itself, and you were able to achieve that and get into law. What was the journey to get into where you're right now, and to continue trailblazing this path right now? Because, again, the fashion industry is a very difficult industry to tap into, right?
Yeah.
It really is, and it's funny. I've been doing this for 5 years now, and within that time, even though it still seems new to me, I've seen other folks who've tried to do a similar thing on the menswear other side
Right.
try and fail within all that as well too. I mean, they're not around anymore.
Right.
You know, and they've been a bigger splash, you know, a bit more money, a bit more press, but you know, it's really hard to last in this business too, because a lot of people think that it's easy. So for me, and this goes back to you asked about the name, and it's about the foundation. I mean, it's all of the years worth of experience that I had actually working in an office building, trying things out, asking all those questions, living the reality on a day-to-day basis is what goes into this. So it kind of, you know, there are no overnight successes, right? So even if this is working, but this has taken 10 plus years of an experience to actually be able to imbue all that into it and really understand things, right? And that works because this isn't surface level deep, right? There's a foundation here that's not blown over it.
Right.
And the interesting thing is, you know, the way it came about was, you know, I worked for years at a big firm in Toronto, moved to New York City, and when I was down in New York City, that's when really a lot of the interest and the knowledge in menswear grew because there's more opportunity there. There's more on the go. There's also a bunch of ex-lawyers turned menswear guys who were there, so a couple of whom were my mentors and my inspiration for doing that. And I think Toronto is a great city, and I wanted to do this here, and I think there's a really good opportunity for it, for me to really build it out. Mm-hmm. But all that's taken so long in terms of being able to get there, and the key to really be able to develop anything is to have the perseverance for it. So it's been 10 plus years in the making for all this, but it's gone from, you know, working on the legal side, leaving the practice for a little bit, coming back to it, and now I've found a niche in a way too, where what I say now is kind of the bridge between fashion and finance. Not just finance, but the corporate side.
Yes.
What I found through that entire journey is that I see the two, you know, corporate world and the fashion business as kind of two solitudes that don't really talk to each other. I'm kind of that weird guy who can go between the two of them and make sense of it when I don't think anyone else that I know actually can. Mm-hmm. But that's taken years to really be able to build through and to happen. And it's, you know, it's a perseverance and a work ethic, but it doesn't feel like that just because this is what I like to do.
It's great.
The funny thing is, like the best way to put it, and I didn't know this when I started down the journey, either going to law school, starting a firm, moving to New York, coming back, starting the menswear business, coming back into legal practice. You don't really know how those all go, but I've never felt more me than what it is that I'm doing right now. This weird mix of legal and menswear, higher end thinking, left brain, right brain. This is me.
Right.
And I know when I was practicing, it always felt like something was a little bit off. When I left the legal profession to start in the fashion industry, that also felt a little bit off too. Like I enjoyed it and I liked it, but like it wasn't quite there.
Right.
What's amazing about what you said is most of us are primed to be one-dimensional. We go to school and we have schooling off the rack.
Yeah.
Okay, as you said.
That's right.
We don't have that teacher that really works and says, okay, so what are you about? Okay. With that, you choose your occupation or your job.
Or everyone says, what do you want to
whatever.
do when you grow up? There's like, what couple things do you want to do when you grow up,
Yeah,
right? Or
and
like,
it's so
what mix of
definitive.
things do you want to do when you grow up?
Yeah, we don't say that. I mean, we're saying that more often now, but I say that because you do your one thing, we're one-dimensional. What's cool about what you said is at some point you realized your place wasn't in one area, that you found yourself on the out. So you either give in or give up, or you get to work, which I think is cool. And when you find your footing in your lane, as you did, you now become a bridge. You start to see, hold on, I'm an asset to them and an asset to them. And I think there's a really good key there that if anyone out there feels like displaced or they feel like they don't know where they belong, that they might be exactly where they need to be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're just, you know, my older brother, he's a biochemist. He's the exact same. He has all this charisma, but he's a scientist. And he had too much charisma and character and humor to just sit in a lab all day. So his passion is, I want to bring science to everyday people. Yeah. Okay.
And the thing is, I'm inventing what I'm doing right now, right? Same with him. Like, no one tells you that that's the opportunity that can exist because it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Before you do it.
Yeah.
So you
because you're the bridge. You are the bridge. As you start to build out, as you said, you're actually just extending.
They don't connect together unless you build across them, and no one knows that more. I mean, I talk to people in the fashion; they don't understand it because they can't see past what they already see, and they make a ton of assumptions about what things are. And unless you actually know things and you know them on a deep level, you can't really make those connections in a way too.
It's pretty amazing. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and think that this is a pretty unique thing to Toronto. That Toronto just finds itself where people have to be more than just what they could have been before. You know, that they have to stretch out. Everyone here works 2 or 3 jobs. That's the reality. By day and by night, they have something. and on the weekend they're even something else.
Right.
It's almost a cliche right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a side hustle now.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And what's really cool about that is we're so open, and we're getting these fusion. You see fusion in food. You know, you get like the Japanese taco and all these, like, there's all these things that here we just enjoy. We get to play with. I guess it's out of necessity, or it's just a lot of people just don't know where they fit.
Well, I think part of it is the opportunity. Like, Toronto's having a moment where you couldn't do this before, right? When I went to law school, I didn't think that this is where I was going to be. I didn't even know what was possible, right? It's not even something I would have considered before, too. And now I think there's, it's not. I mean, I don't do this out of necessity. I do this out of choice, right? And I think the beauty is that there's enough opportunity, there's enough going on in the city, and people are now more open to things not just being one way,
Right.
that you can do different things.
Absolutely.
Which, when I moved to New York, 2010, I don't think I would have thought that here. I mean, it was kind of definitive, a little bit, not sleepier, but, in a
Yes.
very defined kind of way. And there's this way, this is the way things are, and that's it. And anything outside of that box doesn't compute. People don't understand how to wear it, or aren't as receptive to hearing it. I think I can do what I'm doing right now because I think this city and the people in it are changing. Right? It's a very multicultural place. There's a lot of turn. It's not just one thing. That's kind of why this is a really, between Toronto and these are really good fits for what I'm doing because people are open to that.
Yeah.
Is everything you do for men, or is it also women as well?
Just focus on the men for now.
Okay.
Because,
So since we're
for
focusing-
for a variety of reasons.
No, for sure.
That's
Since we're focusing on men, or even potentially children, that's our intern over there, Jerry. And Jerry, if you wanted to have a suit, okay, if you wanted to get fitted, okay, what would be the experience that Jerry would have? How would he find you? And what would be his experience to come in and get fitted for a suit?
Well, and I'm it's kind of it's all referral. I mean, I'm all a word of mouth build too. I don't really do any marketing.
Okay.
The reason, if I want someone to come in, it's because they want to be there.
Right.
Too, right. And they're receptive to it, and they're, they might have had frustrations with what they've had before too.
Right.
So, I mean, he finds me, it's because he's known someone who's had a great experience with it, and it's like, Jerry, you got to talk to this guy.
Right.
Right. I mean, you know
Right.
this guy, like you've been talking, we're gonna get up your style game.
Right.
You got to go talk to Tom.
Okay.
And you'll walk in and not have any idea what the experience is actually going to be.
Jerry, are you ready for this right now? We're
Yeah.
about to walk in.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
He's not, right? You walk before you walk through that door, you don't know what you're getting.
Right.
It's not
Right.
that it's
No,
a
we
magical
understand.
experience afterwards,
Right.
too. But it's just there's people come in and we start the conversation with, they see me, they come in with certain expectations.
Okay.
Before you've even walked in the door, you come in with some certain expectations, and in part some frustrations with how things have gone before, right?
Right.
You might come in and be like, someone's going to be too salesy on me. Someone's going to try to push me into something I don't want.
Yeah.
That's why I start with a conversation to figure out what it is you actually want and what works for you.
Right. No,
And most importantly, to make sure that you actually want that. Like I only really want to work with people that are enthusiastic about it because I have
course.
so much passion with it.
Yeah.
I don't want someone who just comes in as like, look, I
like
just
a Debbie
need to-
Downer kind of thing. Yeah.
or just transactional, right? I'm not transactional. I'm about relationships.
For sure.
And it's what I do is not necessarily for everyone, right?
Right.
You kind of got to want it. I'm not interested in turning anyone down,
Right.
right? I try to make things work, but if you hate suits,
Yeah,
I'm not
Simon
gonna
Sinek-
force you into them.
Absolutely.
Simon Sinek has a
So,
quote from his book, Start With Why. He says that don't do business with people who need what you have. Do business with people who love what you love. And I guess
Or
that's what
believe
you're
what you
saying.
And that's
believe,
and
Oh yeah, believe what you believe.
Yeah.
this is kind of a tangent, but business dress codes are changing. I think it was Goldman Sachs who a week ago, when we're taping this now, no longer require formal business dress. So you can, unless you have a client meeting, you can go whatever you want to Goldman Sachs investment banking offices in New
Really?
York, right?
Okay.
That's great, right? Because I hated the fact, and we started off the conversation, that we were forced to wear this thing to work after. You should wear what you actually want.
Right.
My focus is not to sell a large volume of suits to every person who shows up to an office. It's to find those guys that are interested in it, want to find their style, and in part, a good client for me is someone who's reluctant. It's like someone who doesn't wear a suit, who wants to feel that experience.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give them the experience that I had, going from kind of being skeptical about it to loving it so much that this is what you want to wear every day. And now looking forward to wearing it and being upset that now you got to be on set today and now you can't wear it, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'd want you to have that experience afterwards
For sure.
for it. And that's great because it literally can't be for everyone. It's
Right.
got to be for folks that really actually want it. And part of that reason why is I want to sit down and talk to someone for an hour. I want
Right.
to talk to someone who's interested in a conversation.
That's
Yes.
good, man.
Not someone who's just ready to go. Is like, look, give me this thing. I want to go. If
So-
you want that, you
yeah.
can go in off the racks for you. That's what you want. You want a transaction. You don't want a relationship. You don't want to grow and build and come through.
What I love is, look, we're not really talking fashion. We're talking life. That's it. It's
An
like-
experience, an
It's
experience.
about an experience
Yeah,
outside of what you're comfortable with. Okay, and there's nothing more intimidating than putting on clothes that you're not confident in, that you don't feel right in. Like, all of us know that feeling. You went out the door too quick, and oh my goodness, I should have put that on.
Right,
You know what
right.
I'm talking about? You
Yes,
got that
yeah.
funny like V-neck woolly sweater.
Right.
And you thought like, whatever.
Yeah.
It makes
But
the whole day.
it makes-
How you feel in it.
Yeah,
And how
everything
people react
sucks.
to you,
Yeah.
rightly or wrongly, changes after that period.
It's
of time.
true.
Yeah,
It's true.
you walk up into a room.
It actually, it could literally give you the ammunition to continue dressing like that when you get, because you do get those compliments, and you're like, wow, you look really, really good, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I always want to look good. So it just motivates you.
Especially if you were actually comfortable in it, right? Like
For sure.
if you worked and you're like, man, this looks good, and then you're like walking down the street, something just happened, someone randomly on the street corner taps on the shoulder, like, you look really good today. You're like, well,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
Hey, thanks.
I'll
Hey,
take this every day now
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Hey, yeah, you smell good, buddy.
Double
you
dose.
You return it back.
But the key is, so you say you're walking in, you don't know what to expect walking in, and most likely people are apprehensive about the experience coming in.
Right.
I mean, that's
So-
true to anything new. Okay, so
But
speak
it's also
on that.
it's very personal as well too. That's the key, right? You're literally getting about as close to your body as you can on
Yes,
this as well.
it's true. Very true. There's something that you told me once when you found your. It's really cool. Sometimes you don't choose it; it chooses you in a way, and I think this is what your story speaks to. Tom was working in New York. You were doing a huge deal over Central Park, and all you could think about was,
The next collection,
yeah, he's
the
thinking.
next little bit of classical.
He's
menswear.
thinking fashion.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
and I think it was like $100 million deal.
This was a couple $100 million financing. It's still an interesting deal, and I'm engaged in it.
He's
but
like in the boardroom, actively
yeah.
doing this huge
Yeah.
deal in New York over top of Central Park.
Did you like have like one of those movie moments where everything just kind of like melts out in the
Yeah,
background,
yeah.
and you're just like, I'm looking out, and I'm like, I think we should do a contrast lapel.
Yeah.
It's interesting, huh? Is that interesting?
That's
Then I come back to him, like, reality comes back afterwards too. But I realized at that moment in time, I'm realizing what my priorities are and where my mind's actually at. And kind of up until that point, it was always fighting against it.
yes.
And what I'm doing now is finding the right way to blend those mix of things where they really work together. In a way too.
Okay.
yeah,
You know,
that
part of
passion.
that comes up to that. It's why I talk about family and upbringing. Like my dad's always like, "Go get a job. You got to do this. You got to do that." And he was somewhat skeptical about my news to him that I'm in New York and I say I'm going to move back to Toronto. I'm starting a menswear business. Like,
Ooh,
I was like, sorry, let me get this straight.
yes.
You're leaving the profession.
You're going to leave
Yeah, 'cause you're a
good
lawyer in New York.
six-figure job in New York City, a stable profession you can do a great job for the next couple of years. Start selling suits.
Wow.
I don't like that idea.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
funny, honestly, like it's kind of crazy because I'm trying to think of, my daughter wants to be a lawyer. And if she said, "Hey, listen, I'm a lawyer like you said right now and I want to."
She's actually a lawyer in New York.
Yeah. And to say something like that, I mean, that's actually like that would be a scary flash for a parent. It's like, is my kid seriously on the right track right now?
Yeah,
You
like
know what I
midlife
mean?
crisis here. like what's
But
going
did
on?
your dad
here, right?
say, you know what? I'm going to nurture the nature, and if you have that passion, what happened next? What happened?
Well, when he saw how much passion I had through it, like he saw me do it, and he went through the experience himself, and that's when he realized. I mean, he didn't see everything that I was doing to get there in a way too, and yeah, I mean, like law school, getting in school wasn't hard for me, in a way too, right? So that process didn't actually seem all that difficult, and I think my parents saw that as more of an achievement than I did in a way too, because it wasn't that hard. It's not like I had to feel like a struggle for it in a way too. So they looked at that as like a pinnacle of an achievement in a way too. Where for me it was fine, but it's not like that wasn't the end goal for me too.
Yes.
In part because it always felt like I was doing that just because. Now I'm not doing things just because. The legal work, we're talking about the menswear side of things, but the legal sides is a large part of me as well too. And then I've now actually gone, from working at the biggest firms in Canada and the United States, global firms, fantastic work. But for me, it didn't have the connection. It didn't have that relationship as well. Now I work with smaller entrepreneurs, medium-sized companies that actually, they don't come to me for transactional advice. They come to me for advice.
Yeah,
It's like,
consulting.
what do I do here?
Right.
Like, we got a question. It's not even necessarily legal in a way, too, right? They trust the advice and they want to know that. That's fantastic because I'm invested in their business. I can help them grow. I can see them build and grow and change and do more of them. Like they get, same way the menswear side. You put on a great suit and you feel more you. I'm helping you build out a business and growing. And part of the reason we connected is because of what you do, right? We get that it's a relationship business.
It's a very
and that's how you
unique
really grow on
experience.
things,
A very
too.
unique experience.
Wait, when you were
And now being able to combine those in a way together is fantastic, right?
Right.
Because I'm not transacting with people. I'm building relationships.
right.
Yeah.
Just to kind of flashback here, when you were nominated for the Screen Guild for that movie you were in, and you came to the premiere all dressed up fancy. What was that?
No,
That was before our time. I
That was
think.
Was
yeah,
it?
that was before.
Okay.
That was before.
Um,
But my other fancy times.
Yes.
is courtesy of Tom.
that's awesome.
Okay.
How many suits do you have?
I hesitate to count.
Yeah.
I don't have enough space for them all. Let's put it that way.
Really?
Too, right? So they're.
Wow.
It's also not a numbers game for me. I mean, I think I've got somewhere between 50 and 100, which is not a lot necessarily for the length of time that I've been doing this.
Right.
In part because for me, it's always a focus on quality over quantity.
Right.
Right. It's not about having a whole range of things. It's about I think about it a lot, right? Every one of them, there's a purpose for it, or there's a reason for it. It's different in some way. Everything's unique, whether it's subtle or not, and everything fits in. The hard part about menswear is making it cohesive, right? You can go out and spend $10,000 on some stuff, but it's probably not going to work together. It's also probably not going to work together like
that
a
would
year
suck.
from now, right?
Can you
Yeah,
imagine?
for sure.
$10,000, you put it all on and it doesn't work.
What would you say an average experience of price would be if someone's saying I want a budget to come and get this experience? What would be like the range?
Well,
Or
What
there
is
something-
what is the investment?
Yeah.
Not the price, the investment.
Well,
yeah, because I mean, that's part of the trouble is if you value it, that
Yes.
price doesn't really matter,
Right.
Too, right? And
Right.
there's more that comes with
material,
it, than just that.
everything. Yeah.
Look, from a practical standpoint, you can go from $400 on the low end
Right.
to kind of 10 to 15,000 on the high end.
Right.
You ask that question kind of within that, or I mean, you can get 100. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like thinking custom. If you're looking
Yeah.
off the rack, you're looking at
Yeah.
$50 kind
Right,
of thing, right?
for sure.
$150.
Yeah.
Question is like, what do you get for that, and what value does it actually
For
give
sure.
you? And that key is, there is a tipping point for good quality.
Okay.
And we don't really even talk about numbers because people can find for themselves where they find that value. But
Right.
what my experience and all that build for it was trying everything from that low end to that high end and finding what works for me, and that's what
Right.
I'm doing now.
For sure.
And my price point's actually somewhere around there in the middle, right?
Right.
It's reasonable, and it's
For
actually
sure.
lower than it should be because I care about delivering value to people.
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
The hard part and the challenge is people are naturally and rightly skeptical of things going into it, and the reality is that a good suit costs money, right? The $500 suit typically is not going to be a good quality investment that actually lasts afterwards.
For sure.
And think of it in shoes, right? You can buy a $100 pair of shoes, you can buy a $500 pair of shoes. Which one's a better investment?
Right. Right.
The $100 one that lasts for a year, so you need in 5 years you spend $500, or the $500 one that in 5 years is fantastic and it will last you for 15,
Right.
right?
Right.
But you don't necessarily know that when you get there in a way too.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I had a buddy, actually Anthony, who was on the show. His mom told us once, cheap is expensive,
Cheap is expensive.
and expensive is cheap.
Right.
Yeah, and
I
it
know
was
that's
an
always been a philosophy of yours. Always.
I think one of my friends is like an old Polish saying is we're
Hey,
too
I'm half
poor to be
Polish.
cheap.
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like we can't afford to be cheap
Right.
because we can't last. Right?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, when you really look at it, I've been burnt many times buying something that was less. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, you got to replace it now, right?
Or does it last? Right?
That was my experience starting out, right? That's one of the reasons why I didn't like suiting to start with.
Right.
It's because I went and got, a 4-for-1 deal somewhere, and that would end up being a massive waste of money.
Right.
I would have been better off paying more for something, and kind of uncomfortably more, especially I'm just starting out, right? I'm a budget conscious kind of guy, so it's not like I'm just looking to splash cash everywhere.
Right.
But the whole modus up, or what I did was I've tried all those things for other people, so they didn't have to.
Right.
There's value in that, right?
yeah.
So I came back and I'm like, look, I'm a reasonable guy. I'm not cheap. I don't want to splash out on things that are too expensive. Why can't someone just put together the exact mix of things that I want?
For sure.
That perfect combination of fit, quality in fabric, quality construction, excellent customer service, and a price point that delivers value. That wasn't out there for me when I was sitting in New York at the board, and that's that moment I had when it's literally that, F it, I've got to do this myself, right?
Oh, man.
It's not out there anymore. And no one else knows that because everyone else is in their little buckets and they don't necessarily see that whole picture. And that point is like, if I'm frustrated with this experience, there's got to be more people like me that are as well too, and I'm going to connect well with those people.
Okay.
And now I want to be able to translate all that experience that I've had, that's that 10 years in the making,
right,
and go back and make sure someone like me who's on the come up doesn't make the same mistake that I did. That has a better experience. That's the passion I can bring to people. I'd like to meet 10 years earlier me and have a conversation with me. Like, look, this is what I know. Let me help you out here.
That's back to the future. That's Back to the Future. That's Marty going back and like, hey,
that's really what it is.
Right?
How great would that be? Right?
Yeah.
That's not in a preachy way, right? That's not like, look, you're doing it all wrong. You got to rip it all up. I know better than you. Here's what you have to do. It's kind of like, look, this is something you want to consider on this as well too.
I want to ask you, look.
That's my answer to how much did it cost.
That's good, man. I like that.
That inception, or that moment where you had that defining moment where, you're over the mecca of business in New York City. You're like waving to Trump in the Trump Tower because he's over there combing his hair. And you're thinking about men's fashion. What happened next? How easy? How hard? What did you get in to next? That's a major decision to now. You're going to now start making suits.
Yeah, well, I never really make any rash decisions in a way, too, right? So it was kind of years in the making. That by that point in time, part of the reasons why I'd have that is because of the network of folks that I knew. And I knew some of the ex-lawyers in New York who had done this. They were inspiration, to be honest, in terms of what it is that they were doing. And it got to that point where I was at in my career and what I wanted to do. Like, did I want to be a partner at a large New York law firm? Looking at the lifestyle and what that involved, and knowing how much work that was, it really was, if I'm going to be spending my life doing something, what do I want to do? And what do I think I can actually do? And I had the passion for the suiting side that I felt like I could just do that innately. Like even right now, you probably won't get that from this interview, but I'm a quiet, shy, reserved person, right? Except when I'm talking about something I'm interested in.
Right.
You get me talking about that,
right,
and I won't shut up, right? Right?
And that's a key to knowing what your passion is.
And that's the feeling I have. It's like, okay, now this is what I actually need to do. And actually wasn't that short a time between having that revelation and deciding to leave the legal practice in New York and move back to Toronto to start the menswear business. But that's because it was years in the making. Right? I thought about that, for the 4 or 5 years that I was there, and thought about the right way to make it work and bring it to fruition and make that happen. So I don't kind of done the heavy lifting and the practical lifting, like the literal, that what I described, kind of like asking the questions and going beyond. I did all that as well too. That's what I did for fun. That's why I was able to do it. And I was doing courses at FIT in New York. So, I understood all this in a way too. So it's like one of those overnight stories, right? There's no overnight successes. It's just been years building it. So that's the long way of saying it. Shortly after kind of having that revelation, I moved back to the city, left the legal practice, and started the menswear business. And there's a lot of challenges in doing that, just for any new business, right? There's the reality of starting it up. It's always harder than you think it is.
Did everything go according to plan?
As it turned out, it didn't.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And and part of the reason to start the business was I actually, The thing I didn't like about being a partner at a big New York law firm is that the lifestyle, you work really long hours and you don't really get to see your family. So this mix for me, the part of the reason to start the business was to be able to have the flexibility to work really hard,
Right.
to work just as hard, or if not, arguably I knew I was getting into working harder, but to be able to do that with that mix of passion and hard work and work ethic and quality family time in a way too. So like, no, I'm not having to be in an office at a certain defined amount of time.
Yes.
I have a bit more flexibility to do all that. So that was a key part of the reason to make the change. And not all that works out exactly how you think it's going to go, but that's one of the ways to build it in the right kind of way. And then in doing that, and then things not going exactly the way you think they're going to, that's why I came back to the legal practice. I was building up the menswear side of things as fast as I could, but because I'm not a pushy sales guy, because it takes a while to get folks through, because I wanted to make sure that every single person who I put a garment on was happy with it before they would recommend me to anyone else, I consciously went slowly. So I just had some extra time, so I figured I'm not using all my skills, I should get back in the legal practice. And that's when I found being able to practice at a smaller scale than a large Bay Street firm, where you're working directly with entrepreneurs who need it. And that mix of things that was another eureka moment where, I didn't know I could combine those two things together.
It's amazing.
But there was some frustration from working on the menswear side where, people are really creative, but they're not necessarily as organized, as structured, and I'm not getting that higher level thinking necessarily from that. So putting all those things together, that, we're looking at like a couple years worth of experience from having that moment initially to making the change, to making it happen, to struggling through all of the difficulties that any new business has, to then coming back to something else and then seeing that it all kind of works.
It's amazing.
And it's still been years in the making to where I am at right now. But, that perseverance and that love, I wake up every morning wanting to do what it is that I'm doing. And
Okay.
that's
It's so cool to find
not
it.
a struggle.
I know that you're so grateful for it too, because to be in a place where you don't know where your place is, it sucks. It really sucks. There's an old guy that I knew, wisest person I ever met, and he would say regularly, it's not either or, it's both and
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Okay, so not just legal, not just fashion. You found a way to blend them both and to be a bridge. What's the more?
The funny thing is, as much as I think things through, I didn't see this come in, right? Like I thought of every possible angle I could, and you still can't plan for anything. So it's really it's how you zig and zag within all that as well too. And one thing I think I'm good at is not taking too long to realize mistakes and making a change to them, right? Because that's a lot of businesses fail because you don't recognize when things aren't working and adjust from that in a way too.
If it's both and more, what's the more for you? What do you see on the horizon for yourself, or the thing that gets you nervous, or what did I know you love the city here. Tom said something great to me once. We were talking about Toronto, and we're just talking, and he said, you know what, we're decent here. Okay.
Fundamentally decent.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
We're fundamentally decent here. And when he said that, it's like he deposited. That's something that I always remember and think when I'm traveling. That's something that's so beautiful and understated about this city. That at the core, the foundation of what we have here is we're decent with each other. Okay. What's the more for you? What do you think it's going to be?
Well, it's more relationships. That's really what it is. I mean, what I'm doing works, and it's kind of remarkable to me how well people respond to what it is that I'm doing. And same way I came through law school and didn't think it was all that special. That you're practicing in a large New York firm, right? It just takes a lot of work to get there. There's no doubt about it. But it happens gradually, so you don't really notice it. Kind of where I am sitting down in front of you now, it's been gradual how I've gotten to this point, and I forget that other people don't know that I'm doing that, and that there aren't a lot of other people doing what I'm doing. So when new people hear about it for the first time, they kind of like, oh wow, it's really cool. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
right?
for them, yeah.
Right? But it's great because the more is more relationships, right? And what's interesting now is the folks that I'm connecting with are people that connect well with what it is that I'm doing. There are some folks, like I said, it's not for everyone. Some folks are like, okay, that's not for me, for whatever reason, and that's fine, right? That's life. But it's amazing the mix of people like yourselves, like that I'm here right now, that I connect with, and we can sit down and have a good 2-hour conversation. Be like, oh, like we got to go, right?
But in
Like,
a traditional sense, our paths would never cross.
would never have crossed.
Yeah.
And the doors that are open and the amount of people that I bump into and connect with now is fantastic. I have friends now that I wouldn't even have ever thought of knowing a few years ago.
It's amazing.
And that's because I'm doing more me, right? It's the
That's
right
a lesson for kids out there. The more you are true to yourself, the more you'll have friends who love you for you.
And you
but
find
it's
them,
true.
right?
It's
And
so
you find
true.
them.
Yeah.
So Drake says no new friends, right? But
Yeah.
I got a lot of new friends now too,
Yeah, yeah.
in a way that I wouldn't have had before too, just from doing more of what I didn't even know that I could have in a way.
Right.
Sorry,
And it's
Drake.
kinda-
Sorry, Drake. He means well.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So Tom, how do people find you? I know you said you're referral, but is it strictly referral, or like if someone said how kind of for us to advertise you?
Well, a website. I mean, it's the word of mouth that really is what I do. I mean,
Okay.
you can Google Thomas Henry.
Okay.
Thomas Henry Made is the menswear side of things. Thomas Henry Legal is the legal side of things, as
Right.
you might find.
Ooh, nice.
Right.
And billing out, where I'm at right now is telling more of the story. I realize that people really do respond well to it. People like what I'm doing, and I need to be a little less humble about that and a little more forward in terms of actually, presenting that story and having people find it.
Yeah, I think there's some shed the modesty. I'll tell you, you're an amazing dude. Tom's one of those guys. If you met him after a couple of minutes, and you had to literally have some emergency banking done, you'd give him your banking information, and he'd get it done for you. Okay, or if
Good
you're
to know.
for real, or if your kids, you're at, like literally watched by 2-year-old, which is not legal to do, but I don't advise it. But still, you just
I'm good with kids too.
you're a lawyer that people could trust. We should make an ad for you. But
There you
I
go.
say that it's amazing
Well,
to see.
people see the authenticity, right? I don't front. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just doing me, and people
That's
might have an
transparent.
impression of me or what I do before they've met me in a way too, or before I've talked to them. But I mean, you talk to me for a couple of minutes and ask me what I do, and I mean, you'll see the passion come out of it in a way.
That's
too.
good.
Yeah, and it's not about the masses. When I say shed the modesty, it's not so that you have mass appeal and you're like knocking on down doors, but you got something amazing to offer. It's an amazing experience, and if you could, just
So I'm a perfectionist, right? So I always want to do more. And I always want to help though too. So I'm always thinking about how I can help other people. I think it's part of the reason is it's not selfish, right? I'm looking what I
No,
can
not
give
at
to other
all.
people, and my mind's always going to like, well, how can I, with what I'm doing, can I help you? Or who else do I know, or how else can I connect folks, or can I make it work for someone else? Because I think it's awesome seeing other people succeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Now
Yes.
I know that everyone does that.
Right.
Right. The concept of haters is real.
Yeah.
People like to knock down. I like to see other people
you build up,
grow
man.
and succeed.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Because
really
that's what
cool.
I'm doing too, right?
He's
It's what I
definitely
do.
doing that. You're taking where you're at the table, and you pour fully into that individual, and they do better with everything that they do. My closet is a lot better because of you. I can say that. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, look, before we wrap up, I got a question. I'm going to do a little consultation with you right now. So a lot of our guys, they wear suits in the summertime. And they're always saying it's too warm. So we've kind of, done these little retro looks where they have a vest on, for example. What is the most breathable suit material that you think would,
Well, you got to do seasonal suiting. That's like so the one thing when people come in, you start with the basics and then you spread. So you have proper fabric. We live in the Northeast, right? You need good fabrics in the winter, and you need a good breathable fabric.
Okay.
That's like a summer fresco. That's a linen. That's a wool, cotton, silk blend.
Yes.
Those breathable fabrics are a revelation. The
Okay.
problem is you've got
it's true.
an all season dark color fabric suiting which just absorbs all the light and
Right.
has no breathability into it.
Right.
At all.
So you're dying, basically, Mitch.
it's
dying.
true.
Yeah.
Any guy who opens up his lapels, there's just a lot of heat.
right.
know?
Right. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Okay. I
So you
think
need a lightweight wool, a tropical, a high twist where you've got like really small fabrics out of it. It's got some tensile strength to it, but it has some breathability.
Okay.
Wool mohair blend breathes really well, performs well, still works well when you're going to be active in this industry too.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Oh, yeah.
It's got to be something that has a bit of natural stretch to it, has some breathability, but still looks nice and crisp and professional in a way too.
Okay.
But it's got to be seasonal suiting. Like it can't
Okay.
just be your regular all season.
Yeah.
black
And I
J-
think that's
dark
the
J
mistake right
charcoal
there.
wool.
Yeah.
You make people's lives a whole lot better if you've got some of that on.
Oh,
too, I
trust
guarantee.
me.
It's good to
Trust
know.
me. We're
It's
going to make
good
a
to
lot of
know.
happy people right after
I
this.
know.
Amazing. Tom, thank you so much, man,
My
for
pleasure being
being
here.
part of this. I've learned a lot. And I actually like right now want to go jump into a suit right now just to kind of.
That's what I at the end of any conversation with you. That's what I want people to have. They're like,
right.
Did you ever think you'd say that?
But,
Jump into a suit.
Jump into a suit.
I think a consultation is looming.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I'll say this. I'm gonna say it on camera, and for those listening, you guys need to get together. Like 100%.
Oh man, I don't know if that's a diss or not right now.
No, it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm exhorting you to greatness.
Okay.
No, for real. You know, he can cultivate
just to continue the conversation.
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Right?
exactly.
It's an experience.
I'm 100% gonna say I'm gonna do it. 100% I'm gonna do it. I need to. I need it.
And we're gonna film it.
Okay, let's do it, man.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, in that we got to talk about how we get your guys happy after.
Yeah,
this, right?
exactly.
Like, and make their lives better. Like that's that kind of
Absolutely.
thing that would be fantastic.
In fact, I will set the date with you right now. There's a lot of stuff happening for us this summer, and obviously one of the biggest things is the film festival. And I mean, if you want to look,
a big part of
if
the
you want to
city.
be $1 million, man, you got to be part of that mix. You know what I mean? I don't want to ever look like I'm underdressed. You know what I mean?
And I'll say I had the experience. You're gonna have it.
I am.
And then we're gonna talk to our friend Jerry.
Yes.
No.
And Jerry is gonna.
See, you guys like wearing suits because that's the environment that you're in. I'm the guy who turns around, grabs my camera, and I go into a forest and go taking pictures of landscapes. I'm not going to wear a suit out there.
Why?
So.
I don't understand.
Yeah,
No, I think
we get
I
some
think
like
you do more than
brown
that.
and green tones in there.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. I'll
Just gotta
go with
find the
it.
right thing, Jay.
Yeah.
There you go.
We'll get him in one.
That's
He's around
awesome.
he's around the glitz and the glam more than he wants to acknowledge. You're not always just enforced.
We won't talk about that.
Okay, exactly. Okay, great. We got some projects for you. This is good.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
That's
some-
what happens when we talk.
Not
right?
projects,
Like,
great people.
There you
know.
go. There you go. I'm down.
Yeah, it's not a diss.
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
good. It's all good.
Anytime. Always happy to chat.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing.
All right,
Look,
Tom, thanks very
Thanks
much.
for coming. Again, TH Made, right?
right.
Thomas Henry. You know where to find him. If you need legal advice, Thomas Henry.
Legal.
Thomas Henry Legal.
Legal.
Yeah.
And just look, thank you for coming. We're gonna do this again in another way. It's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got an idea of. I got an idea. We'll
Lots
put our
of
heads
ideas.
together.
Pretty
Lots of
Woman
ideas.
too. Pretty
Always
Woman
ideas.
too.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
There
Okay,
you go.
thanks for
Guys.
coming.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
a lot, Tom.
And you smell great.
Oh yeah.
Great.
What is that, by the way? That cologne?
It's the Creed Aventus.
Yes,
Creed
Creed.
Event. Oh yeah, it
Oh,
smells nice,
fantastic
man.
fragrance.
Oh yeah,
It's
just
a
looming.
classic.
Yes, I
Awesome.
love Creed. Honey, I love Creed. Just kind of putting it out there. Okay.
Any holiday gift, you want that one.
Did you hear
All
that,
right.
honey, from Tom? Okay. All right, man. Thanks.
All right,
buddy.
guys.
Listen to
Thanks.
this episode on iTunes and Spotify. Make sure to drop by next week. And don't forget to subscribe.
Let's go!
It's time to give a shout out to our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Sentinel Security Plus. For all your premium security needs, visit SentinelSecurityPlus.com. And The Substance Group for all your integrated marketing solutions. Visit TheSubstanceGroup.com.